Hello and welcome to this video. According to experts, the PMP exam has a passing score between 60 to 70%. Although PMI has never stated the actual passing score of the PMP exam, there is no denying of the fact that the PMP exam remains one of the toughest exams in the project management industry. So in today's video, we are going to talk about the 5 key reasons which I believe make people fail in the PMP exam. So make sure you watch this video till the end so that you can avoid all these mistakes while preparing for your PMP exam. Hi, I am Ray and I am a PMP certified project manager. The tips and strategies that I share in my channel are exactly the same ones which were used by me to pass my PMP exam on the very first attempt. So before we move ahead, make sure you subscribe to my channel because I bring to you the most updated and relevant PMP coaching which is guaranteed to help you pass the PMP exam on the very first attempt. So the first reason why people fail in the PMP exam is they fail to understand the PMBOK way of project management. So let me explain what I mean by that. The first thing which you need to remember is the PMBOK is the code of PMP exam and it is sacrosanct, and whenever you are answering questions in the PMP exam, you need to follow the PMBOK to the T. It does not matter how you think a project should be led or how you think what should be the next step of a particular activity. It is what is given in the PMBOK which you need to follow. So when we talk of following the PMBOK, it is mainly talking about the 49 processes of the PMBOK which you need to follow as per the sequence. So if you see the card which is showing on the screen right now, it will take you to the video where I explain how you need to memorize the 49 processes in sequence as per the PMBOK to answer the questions correctly. And you need to remember another thing, guys, that projects in the real world often skip steps or processes which are very necessary. For example, in your company, maybe a project charter is never written and the project is funded right away. Or maybe your company does not give enough importance to stakeholder analysis or stakeholder engagements. Maybe there is not enough importance given in a particular company on the validation of scope. So these things happen in real world. And I'm not saying that these things are wrong. And in terms of delivering the success of a project, these things are absolutely necessary. I'm not telling that. Now what can happen is if you do not write a project charter and get it approved, or you do not do a stakeholder analysis, you may end up in bigger risks in the project in the later stages of the project. You may end up with a lot of difficulties and challenges across the project life cycle. So those things will come, but that does not mean that you will not be able to deliver the project. Of course, what PMBOK advocates are the best practices, but it is not a mandate. Now what that means is you can still go ahead and do a project your way or what you think is the best way to do a project. But if you follow the steps and the sequence of processes of the PMBOK, it will help you to deliver a project in a much reliable and efficient way. And what PMP asks as an exam, that whenever you approach a question of the exam, you approach it the PMBOK way of managing projects. The third thing is, as we talked, different companies lead projects differently, and if you answer a question thinking that, hey, in my company I would have done this after this step, you may get wrong. So whenever you answer a question in the PMP exam, you need to remember what PMBOK says or what PMBOK advocates the particular way of doing an activity, and that thing you need to keep in mind while answering questions. So to summarize, if you don't follow the PMBOK way of project management, you will often end up choosing the wrong answer. And that is one of the primary reasons why people fail in the PMP exam. So reason number 2, lack of proper project management experience. The PMP exam needs hands-on project management experience, guys. And that is why a considerable number of hours, maybe 4,500 hours or 7,500 hours, depending on the category you are applying, needs to be booked in directing and managing projects. Now, whenever you answer a question in the PMP exam, you have to be in the project manager's shoes. You cannot go ahead and answer a question just as a student or as an associate, okay? And that brings us to the second point, that if you are a less experienced project manager or if you do not have enough project management experience across those 5 process groups and all the knowledge areas, then maybe PMP exam is not the right choice for you. You go for the CAPM exam instead, which is better suited for entry-level project managers. Now, it happens many times that people give wrong information while filling up the PMP application. They say that they have done projects, they have led projects from initiation to close out, where in the actual situation, they have not done it. Now, remember these things, guys. You may fool the application and your application may go through and not come up for an audit, and you are okay to sit for the PMP exam, but you cannot fool the PMP exam, guys. The exam is very smart, and the wrong choices will be disguised and placed so beautifully that you will end up choosing the incorrect option if you have not done projects in the real world or you have not read the PMBOK very thoroughly. So to summarize this point, a good practical project management experience always helps when you write the PMP exam. Now, it does not mean that you need to be a project manager when you are applying for the PMP exam, but you need to see that even if you are in a project as a project executive or a project engineer, you get involved with the project manager in all the stages of the project, starting from the initiation to the closeout process, so that whenever you approach a question in the PMP exam, you can at least think as a project manager, and that will help you to choose a right option whenever you are stuck between two very close answer choices. Moving on, reason number 3, not thinking or acting as a project manager, but thinking as a project engineer or a project executive while answering questions in the PMP exam. The PMP exam is psychometric in nature. Now, what that means is it continually evaluates your aptitude as a project manager. Often it will happen, or you will come across questions where you will be stuck between two very close answer choices, and at that point of time you really need to think as a project manager rather than a project executive. Now let us try to understand what is the difference between thinking as a project manager and a project executive through an example. Let us consider a typical scenario where you are a project manager and 2 of your team members are having a conflict between themselves. They come to you for a resolution. Now, what will you do as a project manager? There are 2 options. Option number 1, you escalate it to your project sponsor and seek direction from him how to resolve the conflict. Or option number 2, you use your conflict management techniques like team building, open conversations, root cause analysis to help these 2 persons talk amongst themselves and arrive at a resolution. Now, which option will you take? If you are a project associate or a project executive, maybe the first option would be a better option for you, because at that point of time you will have a project manager in your team and you can escalate it to get it resolved through the project manager. But if you are a project manager yourself and this situation comes to you, you are expected to resolve it more proactively and more holistically as per your understanding of conflict management techniques and using the tools and techniques which you have learned. So that's the difference between thinking as a project executive and thinking as a project manager. And that is the main reason whenever you are stuck between very close answer choices, often it helps to think as a project manager about how you can resolve an issue, taking care of the systems, processes and people all by yourself, minimizing escalations to your customer or your project sponsor as much as possible. Okay, so reason number 4, not reading the questions properly and getting confused with very close answer choices. Now, situational questions in the PMP exam, where typically the question gives you a situation and tells you to make the best choice as a project manager. So these questions are quite tough, and often you will find such questions with very close answer choices. It is very important to read such questions properly and understand the crux of the question, because PMP often gives a lot of extra information in these type of questions just to divert your attention and make you fall in the trap of choosing the wrong option. So it is very important to cut through the clutter and focus on the case in point while answering such kind of questions. Now, another important tip to handle these kind of questions is to have a very strong reason to accept or reject an option. So Whenever you encounter such kind of questions where you see that there are some options which are very close, you have to be very analytical and very choosy while selecting an option. So always go with the mindset like, why I am choosing this option? Is that why very clear to me? So that way you will be able to handle such kind of questions with close answer choices and avoid choosing the wrong answer while solving these type of questions in the PMP exam. Reason number 5, and the most important one, failing to manage your time during the PMP exam. You need to remember, guys, that the PMP exam is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It's a 4-hour exam, so your energy levels while tackling question numbers 1 to 10 should be same as tackling the question numbers 191 to 200. Now here comes the thing. There is a high risk of burnout after the first 75 to 100 questions. And that is where all the mistakes starts happening in your PMP exam. So it is very important to plan your breaks or timeouts. And as you are aware that if you take a break, the clock keeps on ticking. So you need to be very quick and very efficient while taking your breaks as well. So you need to plan your breaks and timeouts as per your progress in the exam. And that is why it is equally important to have some interim milestones to check the progress during the exam. For example, maybe you can build your interim milestones such as I will answer question number 1 to question number 50 in the first 1 hour, moving on question number 51 to question number 100 in the second 1 hour, and so on and so forth. So that way, if you have these interim milestones, it will help you to plan and check your progress as you are into the exam, and accordingly you can adjust the pace of your exam. Often what happens is candidates does not keep this time check while in the exam, and suddenly around 3.5 hours into the exam they see that, oh, I have around 70 to 80 questions still left, and they rush while answering the questions. And in this process what happens is candidates get the questions in the second half of the exam incorrect. And since the PMP exam is psychometric in nature, the more questions you get incorrect, the more easier questions you get, and accordingly your score drops because the exam pegs you somewhere around average or below average level. So to summarize, it is very important to manage the 4 hours during the PMP exam, because remember that the PMP exam is a marathon and it is not a sprint. Let me know in the comment section below how you felt about this video. And if any one of you has taken the PMP exam and is not able to pass the exam in the first attempt, share with us your learnings so that we can all learn from the experience. And before you leave, make sure to watch this video right here, which talks about the 5 key strategies to help you pass your PMP exam on the first attempt. These are the key strategies which I have used to pass my PMP exam, and I'm sure that it will be of huge value to your PMP preparation as well. So thank you for today, and I'll see you again in this video.